Now, I didn't particularly want to cover the next gen as far as what I thought Microsoft and what Sony was going to do, but this caught my attention. And though I've watched many YouTube videos, not most people seem to have the same viewpoint that I had. And I'm rather surprised by that. So naturally, I had to give my thoughts on this subject and make my own video. Now, what we're talking about here is the thought of what we have, the Steam box, and what that means. And I've watched Hard 8 and BG and Dark Cloud and Shokyo and all these different guys, and they all have valid points in their videos. They do. But my perspective on this thing is a little different. Well, let's get started. First thing we need to understand is their established market of 50 million strong, that's how many people generally interact with Steam. That is not something we are here to question. The Steam box is not intended nor aimed at any of those quote-unquote hardcore PC gamers who enjoy optimizing and building their own PC configurations. What you guys must understand is this is directly intended to take over the console market. For that individual who may have considered PC gaming but felt like it was outside of his reach or outside of his area of expertise. And some people have covered this, but this is my thing. If you are in fact a person who is considering a PC gamer, it shouldn't really matter to what extent that the Steam box is as far as hardware specs. Just as there are many PC gamers out there whose specs are all over the place, the Steam box will just be one of those. If anything, I'm rather surprised that the quote-unquote PC gamer is not embracing the concept of what Valve is attempting to do with the quote-unquote Steam box. The Steam box is intended for quote-unquote that casual PC gamer, if you'd want to say that. And you know what? Let me rewind that. Casual PC gamer is not a correct term to use here. Let's just say a gamer. No casual gamer, just straight up a gamer, but a gamer who has one specific thing in common. You want to know what that is, guys? He enjoys playing his games in quote-unquote either his room or the living room. The Steam box is designed to be in the living room. Now, I know a lot of you guys are PC gamers, but how many of you guys actually play most of your PC games in the living room? And what you guys must also take into consideration is, and I've heard people mention that, is it going to be a really expensive system? What's the configuration going to be? What kind of games is it going to support? Well, the answer to that is actually rather simple. It's going to support 1080p gaming for the most part to its maximum capacity, I'd like to think. And if you really think about that in overall spectrum of things, 1080p gaming really does not require super elite specs to achieve that goal. It doesn't. A medium range built PC can achieve 1080p gaming at 60 frames per second and not break your pocketbook. It's very easy to do at 1080p. Now, will this necessarily meet the needs of the quote-unquote hardcore PC elite gamer? No, it won't. But again, as I said before, this isn't intended for them. You know what I love about this move? We are going to see what happens when Steam comes out with their Steam box and a superior pricing model that they have for their games versus quote-unquote traditional gaming. I can't wait to see the tug-of-war that occurs during all of this chaos. Are we going to see developers finally have to choose their allegiance, which one they're really going to make games for, which platform is going to be the superior platform for them? Will the traditional model remain? Will it fade? Well, you want to know my point of view is this. I embrace any platform that actually gives the consumer the best buy for their dollar. And then for me, that is Steam. I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing worse than having to repurchase a game every console cycle. It would be neat to have a platform that no matter how many years goes by, you still own the content that you purchased. Granted, there's always fine print. We're all aware of that. But a platform to where you didn't have to worry about if I do upgrade the hardware, do I still have access to my games? The Steam box, whatever it's going to be called, is by far a superior purchase in that regard. I can't argue with anyone and for that reason. You know, the only companies that are really going to be affected by this move overall is Sony and Microsoft. Their models are going to be decimated by this. Nintendo, because of their own first party support, and whether you love their first parties or you hate them, Nintendo can pretty much be self sufficient if need be. However, Microsoft, who's proven to really rely only on third parties, and Sony, whose first party titles generally have not sold very well, they may be in trouble with this. Superior pricing. I've, guys, and don't get mad at me when I say this, but for quite some time now, I've wanted to see the wall collapse on the video game industry as far as the pricing model, as far as content. For a long period of time now, I think consumers have been raped, yes, and I use that ugly, nasty term, as far as per dollar, as far as owning your content, and the way that they forced most of us every console cycle to repurchase all of this content. If these if the invention and the implementation of the Steam box alleviates that problem alone, I say well done. These are just my thoughts. This isn't a direct attack on anyone else's video. Just sharing my thoughts on the subject. More is come.